Hello, and thank you for joining us. Tonight's What's on Jerome's Mind will focus on the travel mind. What's the travel mind? It's the insights and reflections we share from our travel experiences. Our experiences can be local or they can be international. I've invited several travelers to share their insights and reflections on their trip to Sierra Leone. They departed the United States on November 21st. They returned on December 5th. They were part of an African ancestry family reunion. I'll let my guests share who their families are and what type of reunion they had. I traveled with them, but my family is not from Sierra Leone. More on that later. As I tagged along, I posted every day we were there and have been posting since we returned. I've been sharing my insights and reflections on my social media sites. So if you get a chance, check them out. I want to welcome everybody here who's listening and viewing. I'm glad you have joined us as we share our experiences, and we look forward to your comments. I'm going to welcome my guests. We'll find out about them as we share feelings, reflections, and analyses. I'll call them alphabetically by first name. First is Candace Mickens. Welcome, Candace.
Hi, Dr. P or Jerome.
Thank you. Jerome is fine. Damon Haley.
Hey, what's happening, Jerome?
Yeah, how you doing?
Candace, hello.
Hey,
Good to
Damon.
see you.
Hey.
Heather Roberts.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Jerome, Candace, and Damon.
Okay, good. And then let's see if Yvonne has had a chance to join us. Hello, Yvonne.
Yes, hello. Great to see you.
And we're expecting one person who's going to join us late by design, and that's Shamika Gray, but when she comes. So, Candace, since I brought you up, what took you to Sierra Leone, particularly during this period of COVID and everything? What took you to Sierra Leone?
So I had the opportunity, as you stated, to travel specifically with the African Ancestry Family Reunion. I took my DNA test through African Ancestry in the year 2004, and it was determined through my matrilineal line at that time that I was Mende. And so when I traveled with the group, my intention was to experience Sierra Leone, although it was not my first trip to Africa. I've been traveling to Africa for over 21 years, and to obtain citizenship.
And you mentioned Mende. Are Mende in Sierra Leone?
Yes.
I know you're talking to me. I know you're talking to me, but there might be somebody who's listening may not understand the connection between Mende and Sierra Leone.
Yes, well, from my understanding, Sierra Leone, just like all of the other countries, has quite a few different ethnic groups. You know, we have Mende, we have Timene, we have Kisi, Kono, Limba, Manding. Those are just a few in Sierra Leone specifically, the Fula. And so, yes, my ancestry indicated the Mende ethnic group.
Okay. And so, Damien, what took you to the country as well?
Well, I similar to Candace, I knew my ancestry since June of 2004. And when the opportunity arose, and I know the government granted citizenship, and I was contacted by African Ancestry and reminding me of my lineage and heritage. I thought it would be a great experience to learn the history, to learn the culture, and to just learn more about where my great people came from. So when I got there, I learned a lot about Sierra Leone, but as you indicated, there are different ethnicities and tribes, and I am a proud Mende brother.
Okay, Mende. Well, we mentioned African Ancestry. So African Ancestry is a genetic testing site, a DNA site, and it will, if you get your results from your genetic results, they will tell you what peoples you're related to in the world today. And if your genetic ancestry comes back African, they most likely can tell you what your mother's line or your father's line is. So, Candace, you mentioned you traced your maternal line. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, based on African ancestry DNA, there was some woman in your line 300, 400 years ago that you carry their DNA, and your DNA that you carry is the same DNA. There's some women among the Mende in Sierra Leone.
Yeah. Powerful stuff. Mm-hmm.
Powerful stuff.
Powerful, energetic stuff. Yeah.
And Damien, what test did you take? Did you take the maternal test or the paternal test?
Yes, I took the matriarchal test.
Okay, so your mother's. So there's some females in Sierra Leone today that share the same genetics that you have.
Yes, sir.
And that's the connection you made. Right?
Yeah.
Heather, what's your lineage?
My lineage, I connect to the Mende tribe of Sierra Leone.
Okay.
And actually, I had my mother's and my father's DNA tested back in 2005. And on my mother's side, Mandinka out of Senegal and Mende out of Sierra Leone. And this opportunity came up when I learned about the opportunity to be able to gain citizenship as a result of proving or showing your DNA connection to a tribe within Sierra Leone. I was like, yeah, I'm interested. I want to do this. So, so that's the reason for my joining in the family reunion trip.
All right. Okay. And welcome, Yvonne. How are you?
Great to be here. So my story is just slightly different, but the commonality is African ancestry. So in 2018, I was to depart for Sierra Leone to volunteer as a paid volunteer for 6 months. And I had previously taken other companies' ancestral records. So I knew our ancestral DNA tests, 2 others that everybody knows pretty well. I won't name them, but so I knew I was from Africa, like most African Americans. I knew I had, at least 60% African in me, but I wanted to know exactly where. So I decided to take the African ancestry test 1 month before I was to go, and it revealed that I was on my way to my ancestral home. So my friends all said, my ancestors called me home. I spent 6 months in Sierra Leone, and I just fell in love from day one. Everyone said I would never leave. And so it was there. African ancestry wasn't yet doing the reunion trips, but Gina and the team helped me to pull together my documentation and submit it to the immigration. And so I received my citizenship in 2019, but I joined the trip most recently, meeting all of you, because I really wanted to have a much more thoughtful ceremonial experience, including being connected to my tribe. So I think I'm the lone Timney on the call here. But one of the things that I realized from spending time in Sierra Leone is we're all Sierra Leonean. So it doesn't matter, what your tribal connection is. And there's a lot of intermarrying and interrelations, and including multiple faiths that exist. It's one of the most tolerant places on the planet. So excited to be here.
Okay, so you mentioned citizenship. Did each of you get citizenship?
Yes, sir.
You got citizenship. Well, Candace, did you get citizenship?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
And Heather?
Yes, I did receive citizenship.
And so what was the process to get citizenship? Anybody want to?
Well, I'll jump in. I think it was I know it's a collaboration. So the government was ready for us, meaning that they only offer it certain times of the year. So we had a crash course curriculum through the Monuments and Relics group, which gave us a lot of history, gave us a lot of culture, facilitated our movement through the Mindi tribe, through Timni, and also Limba, I believe we visited as well. So it was a process. And at the end of our 2 weeks, before we left, we had the opportunity to go to the State House, and we learned what we said our oath to His Excellency President Julius Bio, and he granted us the citizenship. So I think it was a journey. I don't think we could have appreciated or gotten as much if we would have got it the first day we were there, versus the experience of understanding Freetown, how slaves matriculated back as freed slaves back to that part of the country. So I believe it was curriculum based on history, culture, as well as current day Sierra Leone.
Heather, did you have to do anything prior to going to Sierra Leone in order to get citizenship? Was there anything you had to do on state side before you got there?
This is Heather. For me, it was doing all of the collecting all of the documents that I needed to submit, and the process of getting that to Sierra Leone. We had Diallo Simbi, who was very instrumental in helping to coordinate all that. There was also, I took the extra effort of making sure I went to the health department. I know they mentioned getting the yellow fever shot, but I went and I got other shots as well, because I'm just that kind of person. So
did you have to submit
the overgifter?
Yes, I did in excess.
So did you have to fill out any official forms, background checks or anything? Or you just showed up one day and said, I want to be a citizen? Candace?
I'll just add in, from the more of the bureaucratic side of things. Yes, we had to do FBI background checks. We had to do state background checks. We had to do fingerprinting and all of that type of things. Even when we landed, in Sierra Leone, we went through a full immigration process. We also, it was an honor to attend a full day workshop on business and economic development and heritage that really walked us through, various aspects that we could put our energy towards in the economic and traditional and cultural development of the country. We met with, the ministers of tourism in different areas within the government. We had a nice little swag bag with the pledge, the anthem, the Constitution. It really was a nice, I want to say, indoctrination from the citizen.
It's a nice, can we say orientation?
Orientation. Well, I was going to make the distinction why I was saying indoctrination from the perspective of more of a technical government side of citizenship. And I see things from two different ways, always. You have your government processes, which, we honor and are appreciated and humbled by the opportunity. But then we have our citizenship through our genetics, through our bloodline, through our spirit, which is something different, and they cross paths. So,
right. Well, one of the things I noticed in the Constitution was there's a clause that says that the right to citizenship, so that any person in the diaspora who can prove or establish Sierra Leonean DNA, they automatically have a right to citizenship. You just have to go through the formal bureaucratic processes. So that's pretty cool. And Yvonne, what was your process like?
It was actually quite similar. I had developed quite a few friendships while I was there, so I was able to at least get a couple of people to help me go through the immigration process. One of the more common languages spoken in Sierra Leone is Creole. And I understand Creole well, but I don't speak it fluently. And as you're navigating through the immigration process, if you don't have the benefit of being ushered in by Diallo and the African ancestors, you had to do your own conversations on the ground. So I had a friend escort me through the process. So it was actually the identical process. It was providing letters of recommendation, writing my own letter of intent, why I even wanted to be a citizen. In my particular case, they wanted evidence that I had already contributed to the country and that I planned to bring my capabilities to the country. So I had to do probably a little more rigor on proving that I had actually already demonstrated some value and that I wanted to bring more. So it took me about a week, whereas this team was able to kind of go through it in a couple of days. My process, I had to show up every day in immigration. Sometimes they stamp my paperwork, no, reject, and then we come back. But ultimately, I took my pledge in the office of the chief immigration officer, Andrew Kai, and who is the same person who oversaw this group this time.
Okay, that's so you leave the United States, you land in Sierra Leone. Then what did you do day one when you got there?
So you asking me or us?
Oh, no, that's just a general question. So Heather, you want to pick it up? What did you do day one?
Day one was the Sierra Leone workshop, where we spent all day learning about Sierra Leone, what they expect. It was actually very informative. We got a history lesson. There was a lot of people there from different tour groups. I thought it was amazing to get that grounding so that you understand what being a citizen was all about and how you can contribute to the overall country. So I thought it was a worthwhile experience.
All right. So day one, you're learning all about what it means how to become a citizen, and the emphasis on establishing the value of being, or what your contribution is going to be. Well, what's next? What's day two? What happened? Anybody? Or
now you're testing our memory. We were in a whirlwind.
Let me bring out my journal.
Can we just say the first few days were just centered around
immigration?
First
few days were immigration. What was the next bucket of activities?
We did do a tour of the city.
Yes.
We did a tour of Freetown because it was the receiving dock, if you will, or location when former slaves came back to the country. So we went downtown. There were a number of monuments in different locations where literally we saw the processing of people coming back into the country, where they were renamed and provided land and things like that, along with different routes along that core downtown area, in addition to the museum, Sierra Leone Museum. So I know that was done in the first couple of days, in addition to the workshop and the administrative component of immigration, which was huge, in terms of learning spatially kind of what happened, back in late 1800, what was going on there. So, and shout out to Francis, he was our Matamusa. He was our monument and relics representative, and really did an excellent job of being a partner with Diallo in helping us understand the history of Sierra Leone and how it translates into modern day. He did a phenomenal job and just a masterful job at sharing information and really helping us identify and scale not only our knowledge but our understanding of it.
Okay. Yeah, my experience was a little different. Because my intent was to live there for about 7 months, and I would say that I spent the first day just getting acclimated, figuring out where grocery stores were, and things of that nature. And I learned about Sierra Leone from sitting in a local restaurant pretty much every night called Almaya, which is now closed. And And amazing Sierra Leoneans would just come in, including the mayor and somebody from parliament and business owners and just everyday people. And they'd sit there and speak Creole, and that's where I got my lessons. But, it was, I think what I loved about African ancestry is we were comfortably living in surroundings. My first night in Sierra Leone was a little more modest in terms of where I stayed, but again, ultimately, it was the idea was I would live there. So learning how to just navigate, how to get around, how to take a KK, which was the local transportation. How to exchange money. The getting used to $10 is about 6 inches thick.
Not that much.
And how to actually exchange money and figuring out what you could eat and getting access to water, which is a really big deal, getting access to drinkable water, getting your supply. So those kinds of things.
Okay. Candace, you were getting ready to say something about the Freetown or the orientation or the historical tour, or?
No, nothing. I was just going to add in, I think what Damon had said, but the key iconic place was at the cotton tree, in addition to the museum. And I know that was on Thanksgiving Day, because I found it to be interesting that there was previous enslaved peoples that were sent back to Freetown, gathered at the cotton tree to sing praises and Thanksgiving. And turns out our group was there underneath this symbol of Sierra Leone with so much history, just to follow up with what Damon had said, underneath of this cotton tree. Yeah.
So any takeaways from experiencing Freetown, or touring or walking around, or what's your impressions of it as a city?
As a city. So for me, although it was my first time to Freetown, to Sierra Leone, hearing Yvonne's experiences, because I have been traveling to Africa for 21 years and have been to over 13 countries in a lot of different times. For me, Africa is Africa everywhere. Like, that's just how I see it. When I land on the continent, I could be in Ghana, in Senegal. Freetown is not as developed as, let's say, Accra or Dakar, in that they may not have more development and high rises, and the businesses are not yet as established. But the people are the same. The beauty are the same. The resilience, the courage, the open air markets. Everybody is really working to live life. And I know sometimes as maybe visitors or tourists, even though, as African Americans, we look at it as a pilgrimage. I do. I think most of us do when we step foot on the continent. I think sometimes you're struck and you see, the city or circumstances through a certain lens, and maybe you might see poverty. I didn't see that. What I saw was rich people, rich in spirit, rich in community. And then there's infrastructure, obviously, that is in place. And then there's areas for development and infrastructure. So that was my experience, but it wasn't anything. Africa is just Africa. I don't know how to say it in any.
Well, Heather, what was your
like being in another? So
okay. Heather, what was your initial reaction of Freetown?
Well, my initial reaction, because when we arrived in Freetown, at the airport, that experience of getting from the airport to the water taxi was definitely an adventure, because you went from because one, the welcoming was nice. So one of the things I loved about the various places that we went to, every place we went to, there was some kind of performer, music, dancing as a way of welcome. So that was very heartfelt. But that journey of getting from the airport to the water taxi and realizing that there were no paved roads, and I felt like I was in a roller coaster. I was like, what did I get myself into here? But you embrace it. You understand that you're not in the States anymore. So that was, and it was pitch black at night. So you didn't have the benefit of the street lights that you're accustomed to. And the other thing that struck me in Freetown is the fact that there are really no traffic lights. There's a lot of traffic, people in KKs and motorbikes and different types of automobiles, vehicles, and the traffic is flowing. It's happening. I didn't see any car crashes. I don't remember seeing any car crashes.
No traffic lights and no stop signs.
Well, there were stop signs and
you saw one?
Yeah, there were in strategic places, but I don't think anybody paid attention to them, to be honest with you. There was a few traffic cops there, here and there, but the people got to where they had to go without the structure of what we're accustomed to here in the United States. So that was interesting to see.
Okay. And Damien, what was your initial observation or experience?
I mean, I think, I'm in Los Angeles, California, high rises are pretty common here. So I didn't see that, but I go back to what Candace shared about the people. That's the one thing that got me, is that I felt an energy. I felt a vibrance. I felt that everybody there had purpose, and so that's what struck me, because obviously the things are going to be different. Like I didn't see one fast food joint that I was familiar with. I didn't see, like I said, the Uber and all that, and the KK, and tons of motorcycles, bicycles and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen that other places too. I've seen it in the Caribbean. I've seen it in different parts of Asia. So all of that part is the same. But I just saw a promising people. I was proud to be able to say I too am a Sierra Leone and Mindy and all that kind of stuff. But that's my number one takeaway. That we got work to do there, but nobody's down. Everybody is thinking about possibilities and living life to the fullest. That was my biggest takeaway, despite the standard of living that's different than here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So you leave the city and you travel to outside. Did you travel outside the city?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Our first trip was to Moyamba, and we went to a Mende village in Moyamba. And after we left there, we spent the night in Bo there. That was our first, right? Make sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think that was that was different, because you have Freetown, which is the capital and all that good stuff. Then you drive three hours away and you start seeing wells, people pumping for water, not turning a knob and getting water. You see kind of farm animals that by day they're farm animals, by night they're dinner, right? So you get that kind of stuff and just say, hey, it's real. Hey, they don't have refrigerators, Uber Eats. So it's kind of like, just that kind of shock to say, hey, this is one way of living. But once again, it's just one way of living. They don't seem to have problems with it, And so I had to shift my thinking off the heat and the bugs quickly to just say, hey, you got to deal with this, bro. And in those 3 nights that we had in the outside of Freetown, I didn't have a shower head that worked like it does in my bedroom. I had to just do the old school, splash some water, some soap. But it was fine. That stuff is a luxury. It's not a necessity. So in that spirit, I think that it's family still, no different than when I go to a family member's house and I might sleep on the couch. Right. The key is being with family and being amongst family. So it was definitely some differences. It was some luxuries that we weren't afforded, but it was still okay. The food was okay. Yes. The accommodations were okay. We made it,
Mm-hmm.
When you went in Freetown, when you went to the Mende village, why did you go there?
Get the names, baby. Well, not only, well, one, the cool thing about African ancestry, which is, this is where you're from, and you got to meet with the chiefs. So we was able to meet, well, with the Mindy, the paramount chief wasn't there, but his number 2 was there. And then we got to meet with the section chiefs. So you meet with the leaders within the tribe, and they kind of anoint us, and then they give us our names.
Did you get a name?
Of course, Boujon, baby, Boujon. So all the names had meanings.
And what's the meaning of what's the meaning of your name?
Jump in it, get at it. Whatever need to happen, make it happen, baby.
Is that how they said it?
Boujon. He said you jump in it, get at it. And that was actually named after Julius Momo Guyama, who was one of the freedom fighters for Sierra Leone. So he had established the village we were in, and there was a picture of him at the paramount chief's house. And I got to actually see him, and met his grandson too.
Okay. Right. So the Candace, what was your name? What's your name?
Well, I would like to just share about my experience just pulling up, to the Mende village in Moyamba and seeing, the masquerades greet us along with the drums and dancers was simply amazing. As someone who has been dancing for more than 21 years, traditional African dance, I dance every week, several times a week. My spirit was like just in an elevated space every village that we arrived to be received like that. And then the chiefs started off by welcoming us by pouring libation at 2 of the shrines there, as before they gave us, our names. And I was the last person in our group to receive my name. The name given to me was Lagulang. And that name is not even well known by most Sierra Leoneans. It is it's a surname or a family name. It's not a first name. And it really means put your mouth there. And basically, I smiled when I heard it as soon as they started talking. I heard our fearless leader, Diallo Sumbri, laugh in the background saying, "That's Candace, put your mouth there." And basically, because what it means is that I have to speak up on behalf of people that can't speak for themselves. I have to advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves. And one of the other chiefs separately, he re-emphasized when it is in behalf or on behalf of the community. So this is work that I've been doing for many, many years, being a bridge, for the diaspora, being a bridge for our communities for health and wellness. And so I took that as a divinely spirit-given name that I was told, maybe you can speak on it. Maybe you can open up your mouth. No, you must. And a matter of fact, the chief said, it is my right to say so. And I can say, don't you know my name? It's Lagulang. So I found that was extremely funny. And I will add in later that I was able to receive another name that was assisted by our dear friend Yvonne and Mr. Francis. Can you pronounce his last name?
So by Kapia.
Kapia. He gave me the first name of Nyali Hum, which means in my heart. So.
Wow.
And he did that. He did that because Candace, as she was just sharing, she really what I was struck by is every community we went to, every village we went to, she would connect with the locals through dance. And I mean, to the point that they would actually celebrate and get around her. And I think that was really exciting to witness. And I think that's where Francis Obai Kabia, who was actually the son of Madam Ella Koblo Guyama, whose gravesite we visited and the libations were poured. And she was actually the first female paramount chief for Sierra Leone, and also the spouse of another paramount chief. So this is the first time we had the Timni and the Mende, married up in a way of creating one country. So it's it's really quite a special moment. And I actually want to do a real shout out to African ancestry, and it's that the fact that we were able to participate in authentic tribal ceremonies. And in the case of the Temne, I believe we even did a portion of what they might consider the secret society. So these are very secret and private experiences that we had. And if you were just to show up in Sierra Leone, even if you do have your, ancestry records, the orchestration and the organization of such profound and intimate experiences, I think, is very unique to what African ancestry is.
We have Shamika on. She was with another tour group, a companion tour group. Hey,
hey,
sister.
I know, it's so good seeing you guys' faces. I got immediately excited.
So what is your genetic ancestry? What group? Mende, Temne, or Limbe?
I am Mende.
Okay, so we got another
Yes.
Mende person.
Yes.
So, did you guys make it to the village?
Okay, so my story is a little interesting. I found out I was Mende, and I got my results September 2020. So when I got my results, I went home in April. So I was there April all the way until the last week of July. So I actually spent time in the village, slept in the village. I talked to my family from November 2020 all the way up until I went to Sierra Leone in April. So that is when I had my naming ceremony. So when I went back this time, I specifically went back for citizenship, but I had already been there. And my naming ceremony and my family is everything. Yeah. When I tell you everything.
What is your name?
It is PC Saleh Salamatu Shamika Gray Gindimi.
Okay.
So I am named after the paramount chief of the chiefdom of Malagahun in the Bendu district. She's been the paramount chief since 1973.
Wow.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. And she was at the name. She came to the citizenship ceremony. I was so excited. She actually made 79 that Wednesday.
Ooh,
wow. Yes. And it's so funny when I was down there this summer and she was talking to my mom on the video phone. And my mom was like, thank you so much for looking out for my daughter. And she was like, she's my daughter too. And my mom was like, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And
Shamika, let me ask you, give us the timeline again. So, because you used the word home.
Yes.
So you give us the timeline one more time.
So I got my results from African Ancestry September 4th, 2020. Okay. And I went to Sierra Leone April 19, 2021 and stayed until like July 29th, 2021.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then you went back again in November.
Yes.
So the first round you went to get namings.
Yeah, I went to look, I was ready to meet my people. I was like, I'm going home. And at that time, I wanted to go with African Ancestry, but they wasn't sure because of COVID, right? And I was just like, I'm going. And so about time African Ancestry had, went through all that red tape of being able to go, I had already booked everything. Like I had booked everything by that November, my villa, my flight, I was ready to go. And so it was funny because Diallo reached out. He was like, oh, we decided to go in March. And I was like, I booked everything. But so I just went out there. And like David was saying, man, the kids, the love, like just being in the village, and even Candace with the dancing. When I tell you, I'm still mad because I didn't get video of you dancing and I thought I did. I'm so mad about that. But every day they would come to my PC's house in the village and be like, Saleh, come dance, Saleh. And I used to be like, Lord, they did this so much. But it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing, man, to be so loved and they're so protective over me. It's as if I've known them all my life.
Wow.
Shamika, Lakeisha wants to know, how did you get connected with a specific family?
So when I found out that I was Mende, there was a group called Uniting Mende. And so I joined that group just to make connections with other African Americans who have found out that they were Mende or diasporans. And one of the guys, Abubakar Sharif, he's like my little brother. He's a baby. He reached out to me and was like, hey, I understand you're coming home. He was like, do you have a family? Do you know anybody? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, would you want me to connect you with somebody? And I was a little hesitant. I was like, I don't know about this, you know? And he paired me with his family and we just talked. And then when I started learning so much about her, I asked him, I said, how you knew? Because she was one of the top 50 most influential women in Sierra Leone. Wow. I am the president of Women in Film in Louisiana, a women's organization. I'm so, pro-women and pro-Black everything. And it was just like, how did you know? And he was like, I just knew, sister. I just knew.
Okay, let's get Heather's name and Yvonne's name. Heather, what's your name?
My name is Maboye, and that name means give in excess. I'm still not sure how to receive that name, because depending upon how you look at it, it means that you give too much materially or you give too much of yourself spiritually. And I'm still haven't figured out if that's a good or bad thing. So, yeah.
Okay, and Yvonne, did we get your name?
Yeah, Heather, you do have a generous spirit. I really enjoyed getting to know you, so I think that name is really quite fitting. My naming was really emotional, and if and Lakeisha does have me on videos.
JC to the front office for dismissal.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, so in 2018, I was given the name Yatane by people who had gotten to know me. And it's a Timni name that basically means mother and joy. So it was a mother who gives joy. And so this time, when I received my name from the chief of the Timni group, it's Bora. And Bora also means like a mother. So it was really the fact that this would happen twice. And the other very significant point is it has the same spelling as my mother's name. My mother's name is Bora. So on 3 levels, and my mother is the descendant of the Sierra Leone. And so in that moment, in that naming, it was affirmation for me that the ancestors were present and speaking. And the other thing, Bora is actually the mother of the initiates for the secret society. So I'm the one who takes care of the children and the mother of all mothers during this very sacred ceremony. So I've also learned that normally there's a C before it. So technically it's Sibora Yatane, my name.
Okay, thank you. And Damien, aren't you like the deputy chief or something? Aren't you in charge now?
Well, he said I was a paramount chief almost in the making. Yeah, I think it was Rodney who was Rodney when he went through the Timmy ceremony. They said if something happened, you in charge. I'm still a work in process.
Now speaking of a work in process, because you posted something after we got back. When you got home, your wife had got her results, her African ancestry results. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, well, she had them already, and it made me more curious because I knew she had gotten them or received them, and she is Fula, Mandinka, and Sierra Leone.
So you married your cousin?
I know. I told her it's incest. It's incest. So yeah, well, I guess when it was shared with her, given her character, it was more the other tribes were more amplified, because of who she was. So she didn't make the connection, and it wasn't until now I check kit numbers now. When people say, I'll be like, "What's your kit number?" So she showed me her kit, and I'm like, "Oh, we cousins," all of that stuff. So it's exciting because eventually we'll have to get her the ECOWAS citizenship, and maybe we figure out another one, but she's those three. And oddly enough, she's identical to my cousin Deidra, who traveled with us as well.
Okay.
And that's when I found out we may have some Chickasaw freedmen relations.
And Deidre,
Wow.
she's on the comment section. She's checked in.
Yeah, she said hey to the cousin. I got her. So the funny thing is we were just at dinner one night, and she was from Texas, and we ended up talking about Del Rio, which I had just been in Del Rio in June. A very, very good friend of mine, and his family is a prominent like Black family in Del Rio, and I just asked her the name. We said Matthews. My mother's maiden name is Matthews, and I showed her my grandfather's is on a Chickasaw freedman list. And I said, "Any of these names familiar?" Because he had 6 or 7 siblings. And she said, "Yeah, that's my grandfather right there." And so,
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah, so hey, the ancestors and the spirituality at work, just connecting us all. So
you guys get to Sierra Leone, you get citizenship, which means you get a passport. Did each of you get a passport?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Did you use
right
it
from
yet?
His
Have you
Excellency
used it yet?
Bio.
Have you used it yet?
Not yet.
All right.
I just been flashing it.
I used
Yes.
it to come into Sierra Leone. That was really nice.
Yes.
You had to present your passport at the Sierra Leone aisle.
Okay, so you got a passport, you got citizenship, which means then you got a passport, you got a name,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then I think everybody left with a bank account. Is that correct?
Oh
Everybody?
yeah, I forgot about that.
Not everybody, but
Not everybody.
we
Yeah.
did have an opportunity as a group or individually to open a bank account in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you open one, Candace?
I did. Mhm.
Damon?
Yes.
Yvonne?
Yeah, I did in 2018.
Okay, Heather?
Yes, I did.
All right. Shamika, did you get a chance to open up a bank account yet?
Nope. I'm the only one that hasn't. And I'm a PC. I'm embarrassed.
No. It's time. There's plenty of time.
Yeah, there's plenty of
Right.
time.
I'll be back soon.
You opened your bank account spiritually when you spent time with your family in the village, and the way was opened right then. So,
Right.
I
That's
love
true.
Well, you're at the citizenship ceremony, and who handed you your passport?
you.
Sorry.
President
The
Bill.
president
Yes.
President
of the country. Yeah.
of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Julius Bio, His Excellency President Julius Bio.
Matabio.
Mata Bio.
And what was that experience like?
I didn't have the honor of meeting Obama, President Obama, or meeting the First Lady, but it was cool. I was really I was moved by his dialogue and his invitation to us as new citizens. I thought he didn't go through the motions. I mean, he hit some great points to kind of round out our experience there, left us on a high. So to be able to shake his hand and for him to hand it to us after our 2 week there, our oath and everything that we've done, it was an honor and a privilege, and it was heartfelt. I thought that for him to create the time to welcome new citizens, and it did seem heartfelt. it was great. It was a highlight.
Yeah, it was about 50 people who got citizenship. It wasn't just the African Ancestry Group, but
Right.
Go ahead, Candace.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'll share that, as I was sitting there and the program is going on, and again, 21 years of traveling to Africa, spending, lived in Senegal, lived in Ghana, been in villages over those 21 years. And I had not yet started to feel emotional until Damon started to speak. So Damon was selected as a representative of the group to speak on our behalf. And when he started to speak with such humility, with such honor, with such ancestral reflection of what I felt the tears come from my toes all the way up. I was like, I'm going to lose it right now. That was the breaking point for me, was when Damon became the mouthpiece of this invitation that we are so humbled by to be received by in a governmental way. Again, I make those distinctions because we're received spiritually, energetically, ancestrally, and then we're received, through the government. So, and then as I'm trying to collect myself, listening to Damon just stand in all of his soon-to-be one-day paramount chiefdom, almost PC. He's a big guy, right? He's standing and he's just embodying what we're all feeling.
Right.
And then when the president, and I wish I could get the poem that he said, and I'm paraphrasing, someone changed. But when he started to say something like, I woke up with my black thoughts. Didn't he say something?
Yes.
I was like, finished. And then he just went, and I was like, there was no sugarcoating, on the blackness up in that room.
Yeah.
No sugarcoating on the invitation. He also said that you have an enormous, meaning we, not you, we, the diaspora, these new citizens have an enormous obligation. And that's very humbling, because I think we do. I think whether you're a citizen or not, whether you have a passport or not, we have an enormous obligation to Africa as people in the diaspora. So I just say that it was Damon that broke me.
Literally, I was like, oh my gosh, should I say something? When he was like, we come from everywhere, I was like, he was like, we are so. It was just, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what's the etiquette? Can I jump up? Can I clap? What is it? And you hit it right. I was just like, yes, come through with the representation. I was so appreciative of you for that. And then when he hit us with that poem, it was everything. Like, I just felt I was going to break, and I was trying to keep it together. Like, oh my goodness, it was amazing.
And Heather, did you have an emotional experience at all, or you've been pretty cool all night? Was it just...
For me, it was the running thought in my mind was that, is this really happening? Because of the thought of that separation between my ancestral family, and now I'm back to the land where one of my ancestors was taken from. And it was almost like a full circle type of experience for me, where I was like, imagine leaving your homeland, not ever thinking you'd ever come back, and then over time and space, an opportunity allowed one of your descendants to come back. So for me, that was really the part that was overwhelming for me, and being in that space. So yeah, I was trying to keep very low key and keep it all together. So
before I turn my attention to Yvonne with the questions, Spring Leaves 11 asks a question. What's the name of the group? I'm not quite sure what that.
It's Reuniting Mende.
Ah, okay. Reuniting. Okay. That's the group that you were a part of.
I'm not, but that was the group that I met Abubakar Sharif in, where I was connected with my family. It was actually 3 of us that was connected with 3 different families that received us.
All right. Yvonne, you were in Sierra Leone, you had left, you'd come back, you You use your passport to come back in to be part of this. Was there any emotional moments for you on this trip?
Yes, actually, it's really quite profound. Thank you for asking. By the way, there's an African ancestry tested DNA Facebook group, and then they're always talking about making visits and things like that, so people can also plug in there. But for me, actually, it was really profound and really important that I got a chance to experience it with all these amazing souls. So what was it, almost 30 of us? Because what was hard for me in 2019 was coming back and no one could understand what I went through. I had no one to talk to. And quite frankly, even running up against people saying, why would I even want to know about my African roots? Why would I even want to visit there? So here now I had this entire community of people who knew what it meant to be part of a very small percentage of African Americans and Africans in the diaspora, because we had somebody from Canada, and by the way, Miss Norma is on. We had somebody from Normandy, France, who lives in basically the Caribbean and French. So it was a global sort of African diaspora. But to actually be in community with people that are all realizing the significance that a very small percentage of people have actually even traced their roots, and let alone made the connection, so much so that we obtained citizenship. So that was huge for me, just being able to share it and watching their faces when everybody was getting the citizenship. I mean, I felt like the proud mother, isn't that appropriate? That was my name. I'm taking pictures of everybody, and like when you're their first concert, and watching how nervous people were in the waiting room waiting to go up, and everybody going up there and signing the oath, and it was just amazing. Yeah.
Anybody want to have any parting words? What would you tell the listening audience or the viewing audience? What's one thing you would want to share with them?
Well, one thing we didn't talk about, which I would love to just share, one of the things that struck me was how much of the commerce is owned by non-Sierra Leoneans and non-people of the African diaspora. So what I'm excited about is, I've been sharing this with people, something is going to be different here, because now I'm not sure, Jerome, how many people have obtained citizenship, but we're getting close to 100, aren't we, if we're not over that number? And
yeah, I think the first group was January of this year,
which was about 19, right? And then this
was a group in April, and then a group in this November. So
and some other groups have been using African ancestry data and getting citizenship as well, which again, if you look at that Facebook group, so you're pretty soon going to get to 100 people really quickly. And I'm excited about the fact that everybody is so committed to the continent and wanting to show up and to contribute financially, culturally, spiritually, bringing our talents and things like that. And I think that will shift, hopefully, what I'm seeing in terms of what is actually owned and run in Sierra Leone.
Heather, you have any parting comments or reflections?
My reflection and parting comment is, even if you don't seek citizenship to a particular country that you share DNA with the local populace, just going back and exposing yourself to the country and just taking in the history, I think is beneficial from that perspective as well. So,
Damon,
Yeah, I think one, it's if you have an inkling, you should do it without question. Just do it. If you don't, shame on you. But if you do, just jump into it, because there's a couple things. One, for me, I learned a lot more about African history. I learned a lot more about European history and how that works, and U.S. history, because that was the triangle, and then that gives good context, and then two, just the richness of our people, because we get distracted a lot of stuff just thinking our people is just here, but no, we're elsewhere. We're we're more similar than we are different, even though there's distance between us. And knowing and understanding, and like I said, I could have sworn I saw my boy Chucky over in the Limba tribe. I know Chucky Limba, but based on what I saw. And then last, and there was a new on our very last day there. We were introduced to a gentleman who has just been assigned the U.S. ambassador for trade and investment.
Right.
So that will hopefully give us the numbers that Yvonne had shared about how many of us have gotten citizenship, and mobilize our efforts so that we can do something that we're interested in, pool money, pool resources, etc. So from that perspective, it's just so much possibility personally, and then to be able to give to the next generation to make our land better.
Okay, Candace, and then we'll wrap up with Shamika.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to say is, whether it's Sierra Leone or any other country on the continent, bring your bloodline home. Bring your spirit line home. You know, there's all these slave dungeons or forts, they call them slave castles, all around throughout, you know, Africa. They have these doors of no return, but we have returned. In fact, we've never left. Our blood is there. Bring our blood back home. Join these waters through the diaspora, because I think a lot of times, you know, of course, with the government, our responsibility is there with commerce and economic development, but we also are going to receive. We also are going to shed and unlayer some of these Western teachings that we have been given. Go back to Africa, open yourself up to listen, to learn, and rediscover ourselves, because it's rich there. The culture is rich, the tradition is rich, and not look at the eyes of always of what can I do for them, because it is an exchange. It is a bridge. We are also receiving. It is a knowledge transfer, and together we can do it if we recognize that we are one people, but one people with different experiences on, you know, whether you were raised on the continent, whether you were raised off of the continent, first, second generation, 100 generation diasporians. So I just say bring your bloodlines back home. So
love it.
Shamika, you get the last word.
Yeah, I feel like everyone of African descent should do it. We've had so much taken from us, right? Our culture, our language, our religion, and me just stepping into middle school teaching theater. And my babies have such a disconnect of what it is to be African American, or why they're even considered African American. And I think it's important, because we don't realize how much stems from all that being taken away from us, and us coming from the slave plantation, and how most of us are still running around and not realizing that the ties we don't have affect us. Since finding out that I was Mende, it's giving me a different zhush, so I might say. You know, it's like, oh, I come from a place with a language, with a culture, with a flag. You know, you stand in the United States of America and you have that flag, but how many of us actually own that American flag? You know, and you see other cultures. I mean, I live in New Orleans. You can pass in the Garden District and you see them all fly their flags, whether it's an Italian flag or a Latin flag or whatever. And we don't do the same. And now I have my Salone flag that I can hang outside my house, and it is an amazing thing. It gives me just so much purpose. And like you said, it's a receiving. Going home, one thing that stuck out to me, I was having a conversation with Dory, who has Salone Hidden Gems. And there's always two sides, but we don't know the other side, right? We're in America and we know our side. We know the slave plantations, but we don't know the people that was left behind.
Right.
We don't know our people, how they were held before they were shipped to this new world. And I've also learned so much about African tribes, and even New Orleans myself. Before I left and went to Sierra Leone, I found out that the enslaved Africans here in the Maroons fought to help British keep the West Bank, and they lived in a settlement called Freetown.
Wow.
Now, the British wasn't successful, but they kept their word. And those same enslaved Africans and Maroons went to Sierra Leone and helped with Freetown. I had no idea. And I learned this by incorporating theater with America in 1812. And I was like, as a little girl, did I learn anything about Mende people or Sierra Leone? Probably not. You know, so it's just been that knowledge just flowing to me. And just, I'm telling you, I've come home and people tell me, girl, your walk is different. Your skin is different. I'm like, yeah, because I'm Mende. I'm a Mende African-American woman who was born an American, but her roots is in Sierra Leone. So yeah, it's different. It's different.
Thank you
South
for that.
Providence.
Oh,
Well, listen, thank you very much. Don't run away. I'm going to sign off here in a minute. I just want to thank the audience for tuning in and listening, and then also for the people who will watch this on the replay. We appreciate you tuning in. This is the first of our What's on Jerome's Mind, the Travel Mind. We'll be having other shows, and in a couple weeks, around December 28th, hopefully we'll have our holiday show. Until then, continue to follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. Thank you very much, and good night.
Bye.
Everybody.
Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere, you guys.